Leanne, how are you feeling? How are you feeling?
Oh, she's muted.
Oh, hello, everybody. I was fine. We were just, we had been exposed and we were waiting for COVID tests to come back. So just in case we all were, and we were negative, but I didn't want to come just in case we were. So, but everyone's fine. Thank you.
Good. I will wait a couple of more minutes for Mary Ann. It's about 7 o'clock now, so.
I don't like sitting at my desk here. It reminds me of all the paperwork that's sitting here that I'm behind on. I normally try not to look at it too much.
Uh-oh.
Mary Ann's here.
Mhm.
I don't see Mary Ann.
She's here.
I'm here. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Mary Ann. Okay, I'd like to call the Inland Wetlands Watercourse Commission meeting of January 19th to order. It's 7:01 PM. This meeting is being held remotely via Zoom. Attendance-wise, Stephen Molinelli, Chairperson, President, Russ Davenport, Vice Chair,
Here,
Jackie Mulvey, Secretary,
Present.
Andrea Kowicki,
Present.
Jeff Lippincott,
Present.
Mary Ann Marino,
Present.
Leanne Marvin,
Present.
Gary Paganelli,
Present.
and Kurt Timoney.
Yeah.
And just for the record, we have all 9 members present for this meeting, and it's the first time I think we've had a commission of 9 members in, I don't know, a long time. In terms of the approval of the minutes for last month's meeting of December 15th. Is there a motion? All right,
Yeah, I'll make
I'll motion to accept the minutes from the December meeting.
I'll second that, but I'd like to make noted a change in the meeting, in the minutes on page 5, under new business. The bottom new business item 21-4070, applicant owner Neil McGinnis. The properties noted in the minutes as referenced by our agent were 512 West Wakefield, and I think 508 West Wakefield is an incorrect address. I think it's 504 West Wakefield. Pam, am I correct with that?
Yes, yep.
For the minute.
Okay, so I'd like to note that change. I don't know if there were any other changes. I didn't see anything. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Thank you. I'll second that. All those in favor? Pam, can you see everybody?
I can. I think
Okay.
Mary Ann
Andrea,
and
good.
Russ.
Okay, good. It looks like
sorry.
unanimous
That's
to
okay.
me.
Yep.
Unanimous? Okay,
Yep.
under agenda review. Any comments or any concerns?
Do we need to incorporate the letter that we received?
That would be under agenda review. It would be bills and communication for
Okay.
605 West Wakefield Boulevard, Althea Perez.
Right.
Mhm.
It's listed under communications.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about it now and include it on the agenda, or do we want to not include it? Because
It's a sealed letter. I haven't opened it. Are we supposed to open those letters? I sort of assume.
I haven't personally opened mine either. My concern is with these sealed letters, and somebody may have opened it and others may not have. I don't know the contents of the letter, but should there be any litigation on the decision we made last month with 605 West Wakefield Boulevard, I'm inclined not to open my letter. And I had asked Pam to seek legal counsel, and unfortunately, the timing didn't happen, so we didn't get a response from Kevin Nelligan. So my inclination is I'm not opening my letter, and we can discuss it later on, or we can just simply remove it from the agenda. Any comments?
Just for point of reference, because you said litigation, there would be no appeal. There was no decision made. It was withdrawn.
It was
Just
withdrawn. Yeah.
Okay, I stand corrected. But having said that, there's no basis for us to receive individual letters from a previous applicant when there's nothing on our agenda regarding that. So,
just so you know, planning and zoning takes public comment as part of their agenda. You know, they'll receive comments, just like, you know, the selectmen similarly will receive comments on, you know, pretty much any topic. I know the selectmen are different than your commission, but you know, Steve and I had, since we're talking about it now, had discussed that, you know, I had opened Steve's because there wasn't one for the file and it was sealed. I took one for the file because anything that comes to the office, we have a copy of. And then I randomly, I don't know, one of yours, I opened just to make sure that the two letters were consistent. I didn't open anyone else's. You can, you know, just take it for what it's worth. And, you know, you can choose to reply, you can choose not to reply. You know, there were some questions posed and, you know, you take everything under advisement. That's all.
well, the question that I have first is, do we want to discuss it later on in the agenda, or do we just want to remove it from our agenda?
I think it's worth discussing. I'd like to open it later. I personally would like to read it quickly and have a quick discussion about it, come to any resolution we need to as a group, potentially. So people aren't responding individually, maybe by mistake, seems like a good idea just to all take a look at it at one time.
So I read it a couple times, and she is asking us for information from prior meetings and background of our discussions with her last month.
Just
And
like,
I don't know if that's typical, or I don't know how this is or should be handled. I don't have any experience with it.
I'd like to recommend that we keep it later in the agenda where it is now and start with old business, since people are on the call and waiting for their applications to be discussed by us. And then we could have a robust discussion about it at the end where it is right now. That's what I'd suggest we do.
Okay,
I kind of agree.
I'd second that.
I agree with
okay.
it.
All right, so then we'll leave it on the agenda and we'll go back to old business, application 21-30, which is a modification of 20-50. The applicant is Normal J. Liliberti, and the address is 416 West Wakefield Boulevard. The proposal is to add a retaining walls and paving pathway. I haven't seen, is anybody present on this meeting representing the applicant?
I don't believe so.
And we had a discussion last month where basically my recollection was that the applicant is now out of time as a result of this meeting. Is that correct, Pam?
Yes, yep. And
All right.
yep.
So I think we have no other choice but to make a motion to deny, and I'd like to make the motion to deny application 21-30 at 416 West Wakefield Boulevard, to add a retaining wall and paving pathways, as the applicant has been a no-show for several meetings and has not provided this committee with the needed documentation to move ahead with this decision. So is there a second on this motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I have just a question. I haven't been at a meeting where this has happened before with the applicant not present. Are we required to notify them in writing or anything like that?
And following your decision, we do. We post it in the newspaper and then we notify them, via certified mail.
Okay, terrific. And then if they want to come before us with this application, they have to reapply.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yep, that, my questions are answered.
Any other comments, questions? All those who are in favor of voting for denial? I think it's unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. The next application is 21-42. The applicant is Jeffrey Rondini, representing Stephen Heffer and Hina Sultan. The address is 211 West Wakefield Boulevard. The proposal is tree removal. Is there a representative for the applicant present?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay. Pam, are they out of time or do they still have time?
Believe they still have time, yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to continue this?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Did they answer any of the questions I emailed about Pam? No.
No, they didn't, no.
I've heard nothing from Mr. Rondini about this ongoing concern. Pam and I had a meeting with him and another individual, the architect, for an ongoing project or rather a proposed project for the owners of this property in December. But since that, we have heard nothing from them. There were a lot of questions at that meeting. They haven't come back to us with anything about this matter either. So we don't know where they are, and that's what's going on.
Can we assume,
Yeah.
Michael, that nothing has been done since the last time, which was probably 2 months ago, that they were present?
As I've driven around the lake, I drive around the lake pretty regularly. I don't see that anything has shifted. Those 8 trees that were called out as they wanted to take down are all still there. I count them every time I go past just to make sure that they're not sneakily taking them down one at a time. They're all still there. If anything has been done, it was taking, clearing spare twigs on the hill. The stumps are still there. Nothing else has changed.
Okay, Pam, how much time do they have left?
I think, let's check
One
right now.
meeting. It's either they're out of time or there's one meeting left. It's all about when the governor's executive order expired.
They didn't come in under that.
Okay, if they didn't have the extra time, then it won't be.
No, but they still have time, because 10, 20, 11, yeah, I've got it. They still have time.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we continue application 21-42. The applicant is Jeffrey Rinaldi, representing 2 homeowners, Heffer and Sultan, and the project is at 211 West Wakefield Boulevard for tree removal. Is there a second to continue?
Second.
A second.
Jackie, thank you. All those who are in favor of continuing this application, please raise your hands. Appears to be unanimous, Pam?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. The next application is 21-47. The applicant is Neil A. McGinnis. The address is 512 West Wakefield Boulevard. and the proposal is to add a new dock on the easement and add an extension to existing dock and add a float. Just for clarification, because I had this conversation with Pam, and that was one of the changes to the minutes. The add a new dock on the easement, the address for that easement is 504, not 508. And the extension and the float is at 512 West Wakefield Boulevard. So that's the project we're talking about. Is there anybody present from the applicant or the representative from the applicant?
When you say a float, we're not sure. Oh, 512. Yes. Okay. Yep. No,
I'm
and
not
I don't-
sure. I'm not sure of anything other than the paperwork they submitted.
Yeah, because
Because I don't think they've come before us at
they
all.
haven't. Right.
Are they out of time?
No.
So I do not believe so, as their first meeting was December.
Yeah.
First, when we had that application on the agenda was the December meeting, so they would not be out of time.
Right.
So they have time.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yep. They just their application was accepted last month.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to make a motion to continue application 21-47. The applicant owner is Neil A. McGinnis. It's at 512 West Wakefield Boulevard, and the proposal is to add a new dock on the easement, address 504, and add extension to existing dock and add a float. The address for that is 512. Is there a second on the continuance?
Second.
Gary, thank you. All those in favor or any conversation on it? Looks unanimous. Pam?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Rose? Call Maria. Maria called. Okay. The next application is 21-48. The applicant is the town of Winchester. The proposal is a roof pavilion on Risa Beach, map 114, block 124, lot 1001A. Is there a representative from the town present?
I believe there is. Yep. Just give him a moment to unmute. There he goes.
Yes, Kurt Williams, Chairman of Winston Recreation Board. How is everybody tonight?
Welcome, thank you.
Good evening. So continuance of our discussion of last month of the proposed 12-by-16 pavilion on the Risa Beach. Members should have the A2 survey in front of them from John DeCara, dated back in September of last year. My understanding from key takeaways from last month's meeting, I believe the board wanted some more detail about construction and also protection of the lake during construction. So I'm prepared to talk to them or anything else that the board members would like.
Thank you. With this additional information, talking to the board now, is there anything else that we think is still essential that we need in front of us?
Just had a question about, is there an ongoing maintenance plan?
Not at this point in time. That has not been discussed. When you say maintenance of the building or the pavilion itself, or general
Yeah,
maintenance?
of the pavilion itself.
Once again, it would be inspected on a daily basis, just as our beach maintenance department goes up there daily to pick up garbage and other activities at both beaches during the summer months.
Okay, so, but if, like over time, the pavilion degrades in any way,
It- Yes, it would fall under anything else like a public building. Basically, the town would be obligated for upkeep.
Okay, and there's budget for that.
Sure.
Question, what have we done for erosion control during construction?
At this point in time, to answer your question, we do have a contractor who has put a proposal in for the work. At this time, my understanding from the information is the town crew is going to basically be digging the holes for the piers and then also providing the necessary erosion control, whatever that may be, to protect.
What do we feel as a commission as far as it's not on the plan, any erosion control? Is there a concern that we should run a row of silt fence on either side on the downhill gradient of this proposed building?
Got a silt fence right around
I
it.
agree with that.
Well, it's
Yeah.
got a silt fence right around it, like 3-4 feet outside the building.
Yeah, but
That's
it's gotta be,
green.
it's gotta be out further though. You know what I mean? It's gotta be out,
I would agree, yeah.
it's gotta be out further. That's actually, in order to even do the work there, you'd have to take the silt fence down. I guess that's where I'm going with this.
Right, yeah, I would agree, it's tight.
You know what I mean? And I don't think that going out to either side, we need silt fence, but I think on the downhill gradient in an arc, we need it maybe 10, 15 feet out. And again, on the other side towards the parking lot.
If
That would
we,
be,
if we
Go ahead,
require,
Mary Ann.
if we required this as a condition, and Michael was amenable to spot check it, we could probably, stipulate right in any approval that they wouldn't have to come back next meeting with another drawing.
I
Well,
agree with that.
The question I have is the town amenable to moving the silt fence to a better location that meets the satisfaction of the committee.
We have notated on my plan, does it show the silt fence?
Yes, at this point, yes.
Oh, I couldn't see it on the plan, I'm sorry.
There was a revised plan, Russ, if you want to, the one on the screen.
Oh,
They
okay, I
moved
just
it.
couldn't see it that clearly, that's all.
Would it
wanna-
be reinforced with hay bales at all or anything with the stakes in them?
No, I don't.
What's the scope of work? The scope of work is the digging of 4 sonotubes.
Yeah,
Right.
that's,
They're hand dug in a morning, filled up, and then the next day backfilled a little bit around them if they need to be, and then any material moved traditionally, right? Kurt, I guess I'm kind of asking you that would be.
I was
sort
just
of-
gonna say, Russ, let Kurt answer the question. If you don't
Yeah,
mind.
I had to make sure that was directed at me. So
Yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
that's exactly right on that. And once again, hand dug if need be, if that's what the commission wants. And then basically, like anything else, down to the proper building codes for frost protection and poured sonotubes, basically. And then after that, it would be 6x6 construction and up for the 12x16 pavilion and planning for some type of architectural shingles for the roof.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be comfortable with it. If they want to dig it by hand, if they're gonna put up the silt fence, if they want to dig it by hand, or they're gonna dig it with a very small excavator, if they have one, or however they're gonna do it, I'd leave it to them, whatever is easier for them. As long as the silt fences are there, it's not gonna matter. It's not gonna make a huge mess.
It'll
That's
be,
where I'm going.
sorry.
That's where I'm going with Russ is right now. I mean, me personally, I don't believe you're going to find too many people that want to dig by hand. Okay, to start with, I would think they're going to come in with an auger or a small excavator, dig it. But in that case, your silt fence has got to be moved away from further away
Understood.
from the unit. You know what I mean? From the building.
That's a very good point.
We could put it as a condition to say, I mean, I
Would
think it would be pretty straightforward. They would understand. They wouldn't put the silt fence so close to where they have to dig, but we could put it as a stipulation, as another item on the.
Is it realistic and feasible that Michael meet with, I don't say Kurt alone, but somebody from the Public Works Department who will be doing the work to identify or sort of stake out where the building is going to be and then determine an appropriate location for the silt fence. Does that make sense to everybody?
But we don't really do that with other homeowners. Well, I guess we have it on the plans, right? That shows
Yeah.
about where the silt fence is gonna be.
Yeah, we're just doing it on this one to save them having to come back with a new plan.
If it's the committee's pleasure that the silt fence be moved from immediately surrounding close to the site where the sonotubes, the holes are going to be hand dug, just slightly further out, and you don't think that it's necessary for the project to be held up for another month to come back to reappear before you and trust my judgment, then yes, I can take your wish that it's further moved out. I can see a copy of the plan where it's further moved out, and I can say, yes, this satisfies that condition. It's still going to control the erosion. Research Beach is right by the lake, so I drive around the lake every day or two. I'll see it. If digging doesn't take more than a day, it's, and all the earth is stabilized anyway, it's not going to require the silt fence to be up for very long anyway. I don't imagine the main problem that actually happens with silt fence, which is it goes in right and it doesn't get maintained and falls down, to be an issue. So if it's the commission's pleasure, I'm comfortable with approving a slightly moved, slightly tweaked plan. But it's, the silt fence won't need to be up for a very long period of time because there isn't a lot of excavation that's going to occur in this project.
Gary, does that satisfy your needs?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like I said, the only thing I have a concern is, you put your silt fence up, you backfill your sonotubes, you have raw ground. And during your construction, it's still going to be raw ground. You know what I mean? And your silt fence is going to get trampled if it's that close to the project.
Makes sense.
You know,
Good.
It's going to get knocked down. You're better off being out 10, 12 feet on either side and controlling it like that.
So can we make a condition that before beginning excavation, that the silt fence be located to the satisfaction of the wetlands agent at approximately 10 to 15 feet from the work site?
Sure.
I agree with that.
Would it be enforced with hay bales? Would that need to be done to make it more strong, or?
No, there's not. I don't feel you have enough of a, you don't have
Slope.
enough disturbance to justify having hay bales, staked hay bales or anything.
Okay, any other concerns on the part of the commission for the town?
Would we require a cash and erosion sedimentation bond, or is that really covered? That's probably covered under all
That's covered by the town, isn't it,
by the
Pam?
town itself.
Yeah, you don't typically require
Yeah.
it for a town project.
Okay.
Is there a motion to accept?
Approve.
Approve.
Approved, I'm sorry. Thank you, Pam.
I will. I make a motion to approve application, inland wetlands application 21-48, East Lake Street, Town of Winchester, with a conditions 1 through 12, and an added condition that the inland wetlands agent will supervise the placement of erosion controls.
I'll
Is there
second.
a second?
A second.
Second.
Any concerns? Any other comments? All those in favoring it with the stipulation that Jackie read into the motion? Looks
Yeah.
unanimous.
Yeah.
Jeff, your hand up?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. The next application is 21-49. The owner is Chris Chinook. The address is 244 Perch Rock Trail, and the proposal is to a front door overhead. Do we have a representative for the application present?
I don't believe you do.
Do not. Pam, I assume they still have time because I think this is the second month that we're on.
Yes.
Okay. Michael, I personally think that if they come before you, a lot of what they submitted was hand drawn. We can't really question them on it, but you know, if there's an indication that they're going to move ahead, I'd like them to meet with you to see that, you know, at least when they show up or when they move ahead, that we have sufficient information to make a reasonably sound decision. So, Pam, if they reach out to you, just say that, you know, they're sort of like
I
up in
got
the
it.
air where they are.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we continue application 21-49. The owner is Chris Chinook. The address is 244 Perch Rock Trail, and there's a front door overhang. Is there a second to continue?
A second.
And before we vote on it, Pam, do they have to go before zoning for this overhang?
They will, yes.
They will.
Mhm.
So we're only concerned about how it impacts on the lake per se. And
On
the
wetlands, yeah.
setbacks.
Yeah, because the work is within the review area.
Huh?
Okay,
Turn it on? Turn what off?
all right, so there's a motion to continue. It's been seconded. All those in favor? Appears to be unanimous. Thank you. We finished old business. We're up to new business now. The application is 22-01, and the applicant is David Pago. And it's 656 East Wakefield Boulevard, breakup block in front of seawall. You have a representative here? Unbelievable.
You didn't know what we're gonna do?
Say it again, Kurt.
My question was, did these people know we had a Zoom tonight, not in the town hall?
I don't know.
Oh, by Zoom.
Yeah,
Pam, is it fair to assume that everybody or
Yeah,
at
you
least
can,
the-
you can continue it. This was the application that, you know, he submitted it. Maybe this was the one where he's seeking to put in a dock on actually the parcel that he has rights to at 504.
No,
six-
no,
This
you're
isn't it?
confused. No, this is
I
a
am-
new app-
Am I
This is
confused?
this is that very tall triangular house, in the
Oh, yeah,
the triangular house.
Yes,
Okay.
no, he's coming. He was supposed to come and he was gonna come with his daughter. That's, I don't know where they are.
Do we want to,
Yeah, wait, don't continue it because they may zoom in. They may have seen the agenda and thought they had time, but he
Okay.
definitely knew it was via Zoom. He's got the link.
I feel we'll revisit it at the end of the meeting?
You could, please.
Well, yes or no? Either we continue it now with a vote, or we sort of like close our eyes and wait for a while and see if they show up.
I think
B,
we
option B.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll table it till later in this meeting.
thank you. All right, any agent determinations, Michael?
In terms of determinations, no. There is an ongoing saga, which I just want to inform the commission about so everyone knows. I think it was not necessarily in December, but it might have been in November. Mr. Chinook, who is the owner of 242 and 244, who wanted to do that lake wall repair. But there was the issue of the pipe had to have an easement put over it from the town. Beforehand, the commission granted the approval with the condition that the town perform the repair work first, with the instruction that a legal opinion should be sought from town attorney Kevin Nelligan before anything started. Well, what is it called? The opinion was sought from town attorney Kevin Nelligan, who said you should get the easement, and we told the property owner that. Public Works would not start without the easement, and he has refused to allow the easement. So there's now an open permit wherein the applicant has a permit to do the work, but can't do the work without the easement, which he's refusing to allow. So it's just in limbo. And that's just, if you hear anything about that, that's where we are. The easement doesn't actually take any rights from the applicant because we already have the right to repair over the pipe. We just wanted it on the land records for visibility and clarity going forward in perpetuity, but he doesn't feel comfortable with it. So that's just dead in the water. And probably won't be doing anything for a while. I just thought it would be good to know.
Where are we as far as erosion control with that?
In terms of
wall.
that, along the wall, I have not seen any change in the wall. I haven't walked onto the property since the end of December. I can, as we do have an open permit on that, but I also haven't received any complaints from any of the neighbors or the property owner, who I imagine would be very upset if something had happened, and would take it as the opportunity to say, see, I told you so, this is all your fault. And so,
Was there a problem with that pipe, as I recall?
it's
was
corroded.
fractured. It was fractured.
And it's not doing its job of draining. The water piles up behind the wall as opposed to going through the wall. And Public Works knows what they have to do to fix it, but they're not going to fix it until they have it codified that they have the right to go through there. So that way there's never a problem about this again. But the property owner won't put it in paper. So we're stuck on that. Otherwise, I haven't made any determinations. The only determination that I should report on is there was an agent determination that was given to me for the septic tank for 333 Colebrook Road. That was the emergency septic replacement for that house that was granted back in November. That project is now done as far as I can see. My most recent investigation of that, which was, I think, 2 weeks ago, a septic tank has been installed. The soil is down, silt fence is down, stabilizing the slope. Looks like they're done. So that went off very well.
Good.
Can I just like to go back to the impasse with the Chinook property?
Absolutely.
I guess as long as we are at an impasse and nothing's happening, and because we know that there is an issue with the pipe, have we made any sort of agreement with Public Works to check on the property periodically to make sure it's stable?
So Public Works has been party to the whole conversation I'm having with the property owner. I have spoken to Public Works distinctly about, okay, what we're gonna do if this guy's wall does fall into the lake, right? At what point do we just do it anyway? And I can ask him that, but the Public Works Director and our attorney have been pretty specific in their guidance whenever I'm responding to Mr. Chinook saying, this is the only chance we have to get leverage over this guy to actually get the easement. And they're of the opinion that we should have easements over every pipe and actually have them on the land records. I don't know, in the sake of preventing erosion, what point Public Works would emergency step in, but I'll ask him about that and I'll report at our February meeting.
Yeah, I think we need to know that, given our responsibility to protect the wetlands. And then I think maybe we put a follow-up question to Attorney Nelligan to find out if, in situations like this, do we have any legal recourse to put a note in the land records ourselves, identifying the history of the town's implied easement, so that, we don't remain at an impasse, in perpetuity.
If I'm not mistaken, Pam, there comes a time when the town can step in and remediate the issue and just basically stabilize the environment and take it out of the hands of the homeowner and sort of chase the homeowner for payment of what they did. Is that accurate, Pam?
I'd say.
So we have recourse should down the road, Michael, in visiting the sites, feels that it's unstable and unsettled and it's causing erosion into the lake bed, then, he can report that to us and we can ask the town Public Works to step in and stabilize the site at a cost to the owner.
I think we already have that problem, Steve. I think that if I remember correctly, there was a void behind that wall. And in order to have the void, that dirt only went one way. out into the lake.
Yeah, and then another option is, the easement's there, even if it's not explicit and defined and codified, in terms of, a document recorded on the land records. The request is more to locate it and to understand the extent of it so that the property owner never, encumbers it with any type of structure that would prevent access by DPW. If I'm only surmising that I think that if push comes to shove and DPW has to go in there, fix it, and bear the cost of having it located on the survey, that might all be able to, the cost of all of that work might be able to just be passed on to the property owner.
Okay.
And I'm just sort of adding to the conversation. And I don't know the answer to this question, but I'd like to know what Attorney Nelligan thinks. Is if it comes to that, do we have any recourse to put any notation in the land records?
Oh, always, yes. We're
Yeah,
pretty
okay.
clear on that.
Like I've seen neighbor disputes about property borders and easements and things like that, where attorneys actually wrote a letter, gestured toward an ordinance and put it into the land records, and it's there on file attached to that property. So I just want to know that. I just want to know if that's something Attorney Nelligan's comfortable with us doing, should this impasse remain and the town has to go ahead and repair the pipe.
Pam, you're shaking your head, acknowledging that Mary Ann is accurate?
Yes, that I think that there needs to be an assessment just to see how dire the situation is and whether or not it needs to be addressed, this year before the water starts rising. If there needs to be an emergency repair by the town, I think one more visit, with Michael, there is a pending application already, and there's, for all intents and purposes, an active permit. I think Jim Rollins has taken a look at it. He probably has some idea whether or not it needs to be addressed now.
Okay. So Michael, you can follow up on that.
Yeah, I can talk to Jim tomorrow and see what he thinks. And
Okay,
next time I drive on Perch Rock, I'll stop by and look at what's going on.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
Any other conversation on that issue? Michael, anything else to report?
Going down from determinations to warnings and violations, quickly rattling off the ones that we don't have anything on. 215 West Wakefield, hay bales and silt fence are up, but I've heard nothing. 308 East Wakefield, I was supposed to have, hypothetically, an application filled out by, they said by Christmas, but we haven't gotten anything, so I'm going to follow up with the applicant. Same thing for 713 East Wakefield and the Canoa West Wakefield property. When I spoke to Peter Keefe, land surveyor, about both of those, who's on the survey, he said he might have something done for January, but was looking more likely for February. I'll follow up with him anyway, see where he is with those. The only important thing to note in terms of warnings and violations that I've sent out so far is North Main Street. There is a we have our injunction from the court. It is a temporary injunction. Within 60 days, the party, the defendant, Passing Click and Affordable Family Housing, has to submit to my office a plan showing all their erosion controls, the state of the property. Has to be an engineered plan. If that plan and that engineer posits that there is going to be no erosion occurring at the top of the site from any removal of any trees, they have asked that they be allowed to take down trees that there is no erosion for. We have the right to reject that at any time, at which point we return to court. They still have to get all their wetlands approvals before they go forward with anything else. But if they don't have something to us by February 28th, we're back in court with how fast engineers. I still haven't heard anything. It's been 3 weeks since the settlement happened. So I don't know exactly. I've been in contact with the neighbors. They claim that there's been the sound of dirt bikes going up the hill, but that's not necessarily, dirt bikes are not necessarily construction equipment, but I have the permission of one of the neighbors to access their property to continue to monitor the situation, and I intend to do so. But so they're currently stopped. I haven't gotten any reports of new construction, and they have to have something to me by the 28th, at which point we're going to need to make an application with that completed plan.
Good. Thank you very much, Michael. That was very comprehensive. That was good.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other concerns about that? Any for Michael at this point?
I have one.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Driving around the lake, I noticed that there was a substantial number of trees cut down at Gonclave's house. And I was wondering if anybody else noticed that. Michael, if you noticed that, if he had permission for that.
I did notice that.
The clearing, or if it was just not enough trees to be concerned about.
So that's a good question, Jeff. So the tree clearing that happened was on the properties of 504 and 522. East Wakefield 504 is owned by Mr. Sean Stanziali. The clearing that went on his property was already approved by the commission. He has a 2020 permit that called for the enlargement of his driveway and the clearing of some trees that was granted, and all the trees taken down from what I saw on the site plan appear to be in that area.
Okay, is that where the trees came from on the
That was one of
Enclave's property?
one of the two.
And then on 522, Mr. Gonzalez's property, those trees, I ran the numbers on these. So Mr. Gonzalez owns that hill. So his property goes up that hill where none of the trees were touched on the steep slope of that hill, except right around the rear of his house by the water, where he took 2 or 3 pine trees, which he told me he was concerned about falling on the house. People are always concerned about pine trees falling on their house. Everything else that he took was about the closest point when I measured it with the GIS from the water to where those trees came down. The closest point was 90 feet.
Okay.
None of it was on 15% slopes or and it wasn't half the trees or more. So by our definition,
I just saw that pile of logs there and I didn't know where they came from.
no, he took down a lot of trees by the front of his house. That it was an area that was wooded, but when I punched in the total acreage, it's not triggering any of the things that are going to be considered clear cutting. I spoke to Mr. Gonzalez about it, and I said, are you just going to leave this open? And he said he wants to plant arborvitae all along the driveway between 522 and the
Right away. The right away.
Yeah. He wants to plant arborvitae all along there. The stumps all remain in that area, so I'm not worried about soil destabilization. Particularly if when the spring comes, he plants those arborvitaes as well. That'll keep that dirt where it is. If it were my house, I wouldn't have taken down those trees. But that's because I like trees. I don't think that anything that Mr. Gonzalez did was a violation.
Okay.
So yeah, it was definitely a lot of tree clearing, but that
a lot of trees there.
No, there were a lot of trees there. And it was a relatively concentrated wooded area, but compared to a lot of the other bigger clearing we've seen, it wasn't on a particularly steep slope, and it was in a wooded area, but it was a small one. I don't think it's clear cutting.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other issues for Michael? Okay, the next item on the agenda is the communication and bills. And we're back to the conversation at 605 West Wakefield Boulevard, where Althea Perez provided Pam with a series of envelopes which were to be distributed to each commission member individually in our packets. Is that accurate, Pam?
Yes, there were quite a few people in my office that day that she stopped. So I didn't even look down what she had. She just says, I'm gonna leave these here. And then after she had left and I had a moment, I saw that they were directed towards each commissioner. Yep, that's accurate.
Okay, I'll start the conversation. As I indicated earlier, I chose not to open my envelope, although it was previously open, which Pam had said she did open for the records. My sense is that there's no application in front of me regarding this project. I have no reason to open up any communication that any individual homeowner wants to provide me. I think the appropriate venue to provide anybody on the commission with something individualized but not part of an agenda is to submit it to Pam, and it will remain in Pam's hand until that issue becomes an agenda item in my mind. So, you know, my envelope, as I said, is sitting in front of me. At the end of this meeting, I will either return it to Pam for her keepsake or consider other options, but I'm not responding. I don't know the content, so I'm not responding at all to the contents. That's my personal feeling on it. I think this is the first time since I've been on the commission, it's probably 10 or 15 years, where an individual homeowner has provided personal letters, which are not public documents or part of public hearing information, or wanted to be sure that we had information regarding an application pending or where it's come to the commission. So there's been no prior experience for me to react to this, except that that's just how I feel I'm going to react. Anybody else would like to talk to it? Please just pitch in.
I mean, I've only just kind of quickly perused it right now. It seems, you know, it seems that the individual is making a bit of a case of looking for some documentation from some past meetings of ours to say, well, you know, this is something that was very close to this or specifically like this that we required this information for, in a nutshell.
I think if that's what your letter indicated, I think if the applicant had reached out to the wetlands agent and the land use agent, she might have gotten some satisfaction.
Part of me said, I mean, I know.
Go ahead,
Steve,
Jeff, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I know you don't want to read. I think I don't know if we continue this to another meeting where we could all really read it and kind of digest it a little bit more and see if it would help us with, you know, how we approach things differently in the future. But it's tough to say without everybody really going through it.
I think, you know, responding to the point you made, and I'm making reference to the minutes from last month, and our agent was very specific where he said, and I'm trying to see where it was said, I'll sort of summarize, where he said that a recent application was withdrawn because we made the same kinds of demands, if you want to use that word, on the applicant to provide us with an engineer's report and a survey regarding the wall. And that application on that applicant, as a gentleman and a homeowner, just withdrew their application in silence. So there was precedent very recently. And I think Michael made a reference to that during the meeting last month. So, you know, there is certainly very recent history for our behavior.
Yeah, I mean, at a high level, we're guided by the ordinance. And everything that we ask for is in support of meeting the requirements of the ordinance. And we have to do it on a case-by-case basis because every situation is different. But when we find similarities, we do try to be consistent, right? That's the fair way to deal with the public. I think my impression from her, you know, discussion at the last meeting was that she was taking issue in some cases, on some points she was making with the ordinance itself. And on some points she was taking issue with the documentation that we were requesting in order to make sure her project met the requirements of the ordinance. So if everyone kind of has a similar assessment of what went on there, I feel like the question really is about who writes the ordinance, when is the ordinance slated to get updated, and do we take public comment? You know, does whomever writes the ordinance take public comment before they review, amend, and make new decisions based on how things evolve over time in different communities? And I actually don't know the answer to that question, but I assume there would be some public input on revisions, in which case perhaps that's where she should be directed.
Anybody else?
Is there any process for an individual to appeal? Well, in that it was withdrawn, I was going to say, is there any appeal process for someone to appeal a denial or not an approval? But since it was withdrawn, that doesn't apply.
Yeah, and there is. If for any of the applications that you've withdrawn, you appeal it to Superior Court.
Even
And
if, say that again, Pam?
The appeal process is for wetlands matters is to Superior Court.
Even if they withdraw their application?
No. So
Okay.
if it's a denial, it's an appeal to Superior
So
Court.
then,
If it's an approval and you're an aggrieved neighbor or an aggrieved interested party, it's Superior Court, but that wouldn't apply to these circumstances or this property or proposal, I should say. It was withdrawn. The application was withdrawn.
so then at this point, pending a new application, the applicant can't pursue any kind of legal solution to this, our behavior, let's be honest, to our behavior at this point, because she withdrew the application voluntarily.
Well, right. Yes. Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Additionally, Mr. Chair, I would like to say the applicant in the letter, the former applicant, as they're no longer an applicant, did make reference to the fact that it seemed to them that there was a great deal of where are these requirements from the commission coming from? But I would like to remind the commission that as the empowered arm of the state DEEP, acting as the Wetlands Commission, empowered by statute in the town, you have a great deal of latitude on why you can and cannot choose to approve or deny an application. Ultimately, it rests with you. And as long as you give consistent reasoning, you are well within your rights to ask for evidence and to require from applicants that they present to you sufficient detail that they're not going to cause harm to wetlands or watercourses. The only point where it would become problematic would if we were to start being very arbitrary and, well, this one person we're going to ask for a lot and another person we aren't. As long as you're consistent in your approach over time, and you could choose to begin to become a little softer over time or a little harder over time, but as long as it's not constant flip-flops back and forth that we demand a lot from one person for a lake wall and nothing for the next person, you have that authority as long as you feel you have enough evidence to feel that the lake is protected. That's given to you.
I think that's how we handled it. I think we handled it that way.
Yes,
Yeah,
in my opinion, you ventilate.
And I have to say, in my year and a half on the commission, when I started, there weren't very many of us. Sometimes we didn't even have a quorum. And I was really super new. But as the commission seats have become filled and we've had more consistency, I've been here for a longer period of time. Some of the other newer people have been here. I think that what Michael's saying about us, maybe taking a certain point of view that's more, maybe a little bit firmer, has happened over time. And I think that it's happened because of the fact that our commission is now more filled out, more robust, we're more regular. And we've been able to be perhaps, I don't know, because I don't exactly know what came before me. I'd have to study all the minutes from the previous years, but it feels to me from when I started over 18 months ago till now, we've become much more sort of firm, and I can say I think we've been very consistent.
I would agree with that. I've seen it over the years. I think it's gotten a lot better, that we have become very much more consistent. And I think we keep going in that direction. One thing I feel like a little bit from what I've seen in the letter, that it's just kind of almost like a rehash of our last meeting. And one thing, certainly, I assume that any homeowner could, if they said, look, this engineered set of plans, I do not need it, because I can draw up something that is highly accurate and give it, some historical data and pictures and whatnot, that we would certainly at least look at it, right? I mean, if somebody could draw up something really well, if I was in that position and I didn't want to hire a surveyor, I'd say, well, look, I'm going to lay this out for you exactly like a surveyor would potentially, or draw something a lot better. But we haven't seen that either. We haven't seen that. It's kind of a moot point now because it's gone. But
no, but I think the files tell the story, Russ, that not having a survey, there is no certainty of where the boundary lines are and whether or not it's, within the littoral boundaries, whether or not, the angle of it is skewed where it crosses over into someone else's property line. Like, when it comes to lake wells, I mean, small improvements within the interior of the site, just in the upland review area, maybe, sketches and renderings might gain an approval. But when it comes to anything to do with the lake wall or with structures in the water, it's real easy to make a determination with the ordinance. Before you reach this commission that you're going to have your approval, because you can read the ordinance, exactly what the commission is going to do, and you can see what the survey is. Without a survey, you're guessing. You may have a very good idea, and if you locate it, in the center of your property, maybe. But when it's off to one side or the other, we've seen it, day in and day out as we look at these files.
The other thing to consider, and I think I'm going to make a very positive statement, is I think we have a very broad cross-section on this committee of people who bring different skill sets to the commission, and knowledge and background and intelligence. And I think the committee is more equipped to analyze an application and look at the ordinance and try to marriage the two together to see what's missing or what's appropriate and complete. And having said that, I have to say that with regard to this application, I think there was an expectancy for us to be less than transparent. And having said that, I think the applicant sensed that the request and the expectation that she was the engineer and the surveyor and represented everything to our satisfaction was not accepted by the commission as a whole, and her choice to withdraw, not mine, her choice to withdraw. Had she been willing to comply with some of the requests, the likelihood is that we would have entertained the engineer or the survey's presentation to the commission, and we would have rendered a decision based on the facts. And if the facts substantiated approval, we would have approved. If they didn't, then
like
we would have
everything else.
sent back with more requests and then made a decision. Russ, you started to say something?
Yeah, no, just like we've done with all of them. I think everybody's in agreement here. We're seeing the consistency. This is really no different. All our opinions about this and all our requirements were really no different than any other project similar to this.
And I'm sure there's been people in the past that have been disappointed with our decisions or part of our decision, and they've chose to live with it or go to court, their call. Any other conversation on this? I see everybody shaking their head no.
No, I don't.
All right, so at this point, I think we've entertained our due diligence in terms of talking about it. I would have gone a different direction than entertaining the conversation, but so be the commission. And at this point, the next item on the agenda is other business. And Jeff and Russ, have you met with Jim Rollins at all?
No.
I know you reported last time, so I don't think anything has changed, but anything.
No, but I'll make sure to get it for the next one. Absolutely.
Okay, and Jackie and
Russ,
Mary Ann?
let me know about the date that day. Let me know the date.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Either you can do it or I can do it.
Okay. Yeah,
I just forgot today.
Yeah, I got a little behind.
Mary Ann and Jackie, anything?
There hasn't, to my knowledge, there hasn't been anything specific. I mean, the whole issue is, I think we pretty much agree that the whole issue is education. And however to manage that, we haven't developed anything in particular yet.
Okay.
I did a little drafting, Jackie. I got COVID. I got sick for a while, but I hope to get something over to you just for a suggestion of like a little postcard campaign with some FAQs and over time, and you can look them over and maybe we can take them to the Highland Lake Watershed Association and see what they think.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay, anything else any loose ends that we didn't? Yeah,
Yeah.
Andrea, I'm sorry.
I'm going to meet with Michael and Jeff on Friday to update our application to make it more
good.
consistent. So we're going to meet Monday at 9:00 at the town hall.
Monday or
Good.
Friday?
Or Friday, right? Friday,
Yep.
this Friday
Yep.
at 9.
Weather permitting.
More snow.
Good, you know what, I forgot about that. Thanks for bringing it up.
Okay.
And Jeff made a nice start on that. And
Whoa.
I mean,
Did I
not Jeff,
volunteer
excuse me,
myself or something? I don't recall.
there you go. And Michael did make a nice start and a good item for us to get our teeth into. And one of the comments I passed to Pam earlier today was that sometimes we get applications that are just bad. When they're not complete and we waste time accepting them and spending an hour probing and asking for more detail, where, if there's a sense that when we give a blank application to a homeowner or an applicant representing a homeowner, they know what we ask of them and they know the direction that they have to go in to satisfy their request and our needs. So I think we're good and we're moving in the right direction with that. All right.
I
Jeff,
have a question. Andrew, did you say I'm involved with this?
Yes. Did you volunteer last month?
I
didn't
saw
think
your
I
hand
did.
up. I saw your hand up.
I did not think I did. I don't think I'm the right person for that.
Was it Gary
As far as for what part?
for the updating of the application for any
No, I
applicants?
volunteered to talk with somebody as far as getting involved with where we're gonna go as far as seawalls, where we call for engineered plans and stuff of that nature.
Maybe it was
Okay.
Gary. Might have been, that's what it must have been Gary that agreed to, because that is gonna be incorporated, that guidance.
That's fine. If that's part of it, then I will participate.
Okay.
Because
You're off the hook.
you didn't want it to come from the commission, so that's why I've incorporated it into the application and am dubbing it guidance,
Okay.
so when the subcommittee meets, you can look it over and see if that might accomplish giving applicants that type of direction based on Michael's staff. He drafted some language but where it's not necessary, it's very hedgy. It's not a requirement. And I softened some of the language of the application because there were lots of exclamation points and caps. And so we're gonna, it's a little bit
Okay.
more friendly, same kind of messaging, but a little bit more friendly. But just before you adjourn, Steve, don't forget Pago. Can you go back to new business? They're
Oh,
not
is he-
here.
Oh, thank you, I did.
Question. But wait, quick question before we go back to Pago. I might have missed it. Does that mean that a subcommittee is being formed to
It was-
discuss and review the guidance?
It was at that last meeting, and your December meeting. I was pulling up the minutes, but.
And I totally missed it. Okay.
Would you like to be part of
Would you
it?
like
So
to
you
be
don't
part
miss
of it?
Yeah, I'd
Someone
love
else-
to be.
I don't
Okay.
remember who it was, but someone else volunteered.
So Mary
No, it
Ann,
had to be me. It had to be me, but it
Marianne,
wasn't presented the way it was just presented here.
I
Okay.
didn't remember it being such a formal thing as forming a subcommittee, but I would be happy to participate in that subcommittee.
Very good. Thank you very much.
9 o'clock Friday. At
No, the
the
Nine
town.
reason why,
o'clock Friday morning.
I asked,
9
That-
o'clock Friday with a disco ball.
Yeah.
the reason
That's
why
Pam-
I asked is that
Pam's
some of us
office?
meet with Michael is because I think it becomes more complete if we have input as to what Michael and Pam are suggesting the application should provide us. And the reason why I don't want it to come from the committee is because I don't want somebody to say to us, well, you put this out and I did what you said, now I'm entitled to it. So it's coming from the agent and the office, and we always retain the right to make an individual decision based on the application. So, I think that will
Scope.
help us
Yeah,
with guidance
yeah.
and help them better understand the application process and what we need.
No, and that application needed updating. That was one of the complaints. I think we're gonna kill a bunch of birds with one stone. Not that this commission wants to kill any birds, but
One of the things that Pam said to me just today was that no matter what, no matter how incomplete it is, she has to accept the application.
Yes,
And put it in
yes.
our packet.
Yes.
So, we
There's-
can waste a lot of time down the road, or she could say to somebody up front, listen, here's really what they're looking for. I'll put it in their package, but you're not going to be happy with the meeting because they're going to go through everything that what they want with you anyway. So try to give it to us.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right, good point. Thank you. And thanks, Mary Ann, for helping out. All right,
Yeah,
Pam,
of course.
Pam, you feel that the Prego was here?
No.
They're not.
No,
Oh,
but
okay. Oh, good.
but it's a new application this month. This is about breaking up rocks in the lake. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, breaking up rocks in the lake bed. And while that, I remember you had reviewed maybe 4 applications in one meeting last year, because there were several lakefront property owners that wanted to break up stones. Michael, you went out to the site. This is a modification, so you could do it in one meeting. They had come to you, Matt Clausen was the applicant. They needed a shed, a cantilever dock, and a swim area. And according to our records, nothing's been done, but Michael visited the site. And I'm not sure whether or not he visited the site today. So I don't know if anyone else had the opportunity to visit it ahead of this discussion. But I'm not sure if the dock has already been installed. There is a shed there that didn't receive the requisite zoning permit. And it's not positioned as it was depicted on the plan and as it was approved. It may be the right size and it just got reoriented and it may be in the right location. But if those things weren't there, and then I have a question, because that the deck that's there, it looks like it has new decking. And I don't know, and it looks like, I don't think I updated the pictures, but you're probably not, with all that said, ready to approve it this evening, and you probably.
Well, today we would just be accepting the
No,
application.
you could be approving it because it's a modification.
Oh, I see. Well, I mean, I personally looked at the pictures and you guys all know I have concerns about rock breaking anyway, but there's a rock that's actually part of, looks like if it were broken up, would impede the structural integrity of the actual wall. So I mean, I think we could accept the application tonight, but I personally don't feel like I'm in a position to vote on an approval.
No, me either.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then,
Of how you would break them up, right?
Right, you don't, you'd probably want the applicant here to talk
Yeah, we'd have
about
to
it.
talk about all that like we did with the other rock breakers.
Yeah, the whole issue is whether the rocks are the bottom of the lake, and whether we should disturb the bottom of the lake. That's the issue.
Yeah, I mean, as I recall, the other ones got approved by some margin because some of us were in support and some of us were not.
Well,
I
I
have
think the approval was that they could slice off the top of some of the boulders.
my sense is that the applicant didn't think enough to come before us at this point, that my preference is not to allow the agent to make a determination, but put the onus on this commission to make that determination. And let them tell us what they want to do and why they want to do it.
I have a question. Michael, have you looked at this, gone out and physically looked at this?
The property, yes, I was there. I drove by it today and I went onto the site and took pictures on the 12th, a week ago.
These pictures that I received, it looks like these rocks are slushed in concrete.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're like part of the wall.
No, they're not necessarily, well, they are part of the wall, which is not a problem shearing them off, but the part that I'm concerned about is the amount of concrete that is on the lake bed. All this gray seems like concrete been poured down there to hold everything back, unless I'm getting the wrong view of the picture.
It looks like something that got dumped in the lake.
It'd be under 3 of 6.
You know what, Gary, I'm looking at the left-hand picture on page 3 of 6. And
Yeah.
it looks like the wall, on the top of the wall,
Was
white
redone.
also. I don't know whether it's snow on the top of the wall.
No, I think it's a concrete cap, Steve,
Okay, I don't know, I can't,
but it looks to me like it's down the bottom.
I see what you're talking about. Yeah,
It's all slushed in concrete.
So when I was at the site, the top of the wall was covered with snow and the level of the water with the ice made it difficult for me to see these areas that are called out in the pictures provided by the applicant. So I can't confirm from my own observations whether or not that's concrete in the lake bed. I will go back as soon as we get a little bit of unfreeze so I can see what's beneath the lake bed, but ice is often foggy at the shore. So I can't confirm that right now.
But you
And
see that
that'll
bottom
also-
picture, the bottom
Yeah.
picture, Steve, where it comes gravel off the lake
Yeah.
bed and then it goes to concrete. It looks like just concrete poured in there. I don't know.
you could very well be right, Gary. I just, I can't tell from the pictures.
No, I really can't. Somebody's got to take a look at it.
All right, so then I think we're of the mindset that we're not going to allow Michael to make an agent determination, then simply accept his decision that it will come before the commission next month.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'd want to see how they want to move any rocks. I'd be very concerned about, giving an approval of something and then before you know it, somebody's got a big machine down there and they're pulling rocks out of the bed, which can easily happen if we say, well, yeah, we'd approve breaking them up.
All right, we'll see what happens when they show up.
Is it possible to not accept the application tonight and wait until someone comes before us so that we can tell them what we would expect of them?
Once they submit it, Mary Ann, we're obligated at the next meeting to accept it. And we've accepted applications where sometimes we didn't even have the paperwork in front of us.
Right.
So, once they hit Pam's hand in a timely manner, and I think that's the right word, timely manner, and that could be 24 hours, if I'm correct, 24 hours before our meeting tonight. So it would have been last night at 7 o'clock. If Pam had them in her hand, she had to accept it and she had to put it on our agenda. And we would be obligated to accept it by statute. We don't have to do anything about it. And my personal preference, and the commission has been very lenient in agreeing with me, is I don't want to waste a lot of time on people who put in a pile of paper and don't have the courtesy to show up to talk about it. So, you know, my role has always been to advocate to accept it and move ahead. And they kill a month, they kill a month. That's their problem, not mine. So, you know, I'm pretty focused on that line, and I feel the same way about this. Next month, when they come before us, we're going to ask them a lot of questions, and maybe they don't have the answers, and they will have to come back a third month for a decision, and I'm okay with that. Any other discussion on this application?
I agree with you, Steve.
I agree with you too, Steve.
That's a good way to
Good,
handle it.
thank you. Kurt,
Okay. Are we done?
I don't know.
We'll
Kurt,
need
are
a
we ready?
motion to continue.
There you go. Make a motion to continue application
No, except.
20-01. The applicant is David Prego. The address is
No,
No, except.
it's
What?
20-56, Steve, which is a modification to 22-01.
But other way
The
around.
applicant-
So the motion is to accept application 22-01, which is a modification of application
Correct.
20-56,
Oh, okay.
and continue it to the next meeting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Correct.
Is there a second to accept?
I'll second.
second.
Gary? All those in favor of simply accepting? It appears to be unanimous. I think that concludes any business we have for tonight.
When is the subcommittee meeting?
Your committee,
Friday
Friday at 9 o'clock.
9?
Yeah, but is the weather supposed to be bad? Do you want to push it to Monday? Or does that work for you? No, Friday, it's just supposed to be cold Friday.
Well, if
Can
we
you,
can't meet in person, we could do a Zoom, couldn't we?
No.
That's true.
I
That's
think
true.
Gary, so town hall reopens tomorrow. So we're free to gather and, you know, I can grab a big room so that we can socially distance appropriately. So if Friday works for you at 9, Jeff, you were on an email that I had sent Andrea with a draft of, you know, what you folks will look at. I will send it to Gary and Marianne instead. I don't know how I thought you were, I
I
don't
didn't
know.
see the email either.
I thought you had some extra time.
lost in
Maybe
this.
that's what it was.
Jeff, you really didn't want to be on this. did you?
I didn't accept the email.
My last comment for next month's meeting is, I think it's going to be at 6 o'clock, I think, but that Pam will confirm. And if anyone, and starting with me, is not able to attend the meeting next month, please let Pam know in a very timely manner so that should there be a need to not have a meeting because of a quorum, which I don't think will happen, but I think it's polite to let Pam know so that the applicants will know that also, but I will not be present at the next month's meeting.
Pam, is it the 16th? Is it March 16th
February.
or February? Yeah, okay.
You're not skipping February too, are you?
No, No, I'll be here in February.
I'm just kidding.
Okay,
But not
Uh,
March.
It's the
Not March.
16th of February,
Okay.
correct? Yep.
thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I'm such a pain on the subcommittee thing. Is there any way we could do it at 9:30 on Friday? I have to take my mom to a doctor's appointment in Farmington that's at 8. That's supposed to be fast, but I don't think I'll be back by 9.
I could do 9:30.
I'm-
Can you,
I'm
Gary?
fine. I'm fine.
Sorry, guys.
Michael,
We're good.
Pam,
Okay.
9:30.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll make the
Thank you.
motion to adjourn.
Take care, everybody. Stay healthy.
Good
night.
Thank
Here
you.
again.
Good night.
Bye.